Hello everyone, welcome to Story Time. We are currently reading The Willigrews 2 by Terry Tarbox, and Terry is a local author who has very kindly said that we can read his stories for Story Time, so thank you very much, Terry. And this book is illustrated by Terry's niece, and her name is Wendy. So if you want to see some of these fantastic illustrations, I'd advise you to get the book. But in the meantime, snuggle up, sit down, and let's enjoy the next chapter. Now, this chapter's quite long, so we're going to split it up into a few different videos, okay? So you're just going to have to keep watching to find out what happens. So today we are reading chapter 4. I think it's chapter 4, or story 4, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. And this is The Willigrews and the Mighty Stump of Doom. This story is about a tree stump, probably an oak tree that has long since been chopped down. To us humans, it wasn't all that big, but to the Willigrews, being as they are, so very small, it was enormous, all of 2 metres high and about 6 metres around its base. The mighty stump of doom, as the Willigrews called it, was like a very high mountain which had never been climbed. For some time, some of the tribe had wondered what the view was like from the top of the stump. They wondered and wondered until one day, as Longstint and Rusin were returning from a hard day's work on the chickweed beds, they talked about how difficult it would be to climb. "I was wondering," said Longstint, "how difficult it would be to climb the mighty stump of doom." "Very difficult, I would imagine," replied Rusin. The other brave Willigrews that tried never returned, and don't forget all the stories about the strange beasts that live up there. Anyway, they both agreed that it would be a great adventure and that they should ask their leader Brongley for permission to organise an expedition. They went straight to Brongleys House. Well, actually they had to turn a couple of corners and knocked on the door. Yill came to the door and welcomed the 2 little chaps in by saying, "Welcome, you 2 little chaps." "Hello, Yill. Is Brongley in?" they asked. "Yes, he's in the lounge practising his snoring," she replied. As they entered, Brongley was making a loud snorting sound. He looked at Rusin and Longstint and asked, "What do you think of that for a snore? Good or what?" "That's an excellent snore," said Rusin. "Have you got any more?" In reply, Brongley put one finger in his left nostril, stood on one leg, held his other hand above his head, and let out what was really a high-pitched, purring, whistly sound. "Absolute classic snore," shouted Longstint excitedly. "Much respect," said Rusin in agreement. "Well, enough of that," said Brongley. "What can I do for you chaps?" Rusin began. "We are thinking of trying to climb the mighty stump of doom," he said, "and we would like your advice and, of course, your permission." "Hold on a minute," gasped Brongley. "That would be a very dangerous thing to do. Have you thought it through? Seriously? Why would you want to risk your lives on such a perilous mission?" Rusin answered first, saying that he liked to face challenges in his life and that to succeed would be a great honour and would enhance the Willigrews' reputation throughout the known world. Longstint followed this with, "It might be a bit of fun." Brongley explained to the 2 brave little Willigrews that he would like some time to think about their idea and that he would let them know in the morning or tomorrow, whichever comes first. With that, Rusin and Longstint said goodbye and went off to make their plans, hoping the answer would be yes. With that... Oh, no, I've just read that line. Silly me, let me move on. Brongley decided to discuss things with Yill. He always did this when he had a problem. He said to Yill, "I would like to discuss a problem with you, my lovely little green furry dumpling." "What's the problem, my handsome little green fluff ball?" asked Yill. "Well, it's like this," Brongley continued. "Rusin and Longstint have come up with a plan to climb the mighty stump of doom and have asked for my permission." "Well, that is a problem," she said. "That would be very, very dangerous. As you know, several Willigrews have tried and never returned." The names of the adventurers who went up on the stump were inscribed on a large stone on the village green with this message: "In memory of the brave Willigrews who tried to climb the mighty stump of doom. Vodrabo, Dornig, enog, colmander, benmander, nostril gore. If they never return, we will see them when they do. In addition, there were some scary rumours about creatures that lived in the dense forest that covered the stump. Some said that a fierce dragon lived near the top. Others that a wicked witch with bad dress sense and even badder breath lived in the lichen forest. Another story told of a mad sausage man that could turn your nose purple and lived in a cave about halfway up. There were nice stories, however, about a kind fairy who was so beautiful she could make the sun blush, and an equally beautiful princess who was so sparkly and pink she could turn night into day, but not at weekends, when she had to charge up her sparkles using solar panels, which she carried in her handbag. After much discussion, walking over to the window and back, standing on one leg while scratching the other, and making small clicky noises with their tongues, Brongley and Yill decided to let Rusin and Longstint attempt to climb the mighty stump of doom. I'm glad they did this, or this story would have ended here. Next morning, when Rusin and Longstint arrived, Brongley opened the door to greet them. They looked half nervous and half excited. Their top halves were excited, and their bottom halves were nervous. Brongley said he would give them permission to go, but that they must promise him that the moment they felt that their lives were in danger, they must turn around and come back to Willigrews. He explained that they would still be heroes even if they tried and failed. The two would-be adventurers were overjoyed. "Whoop, whoop!" shouted Longstint. "Ditto, ditto!" agreed Rusin. That afternoon, a meeting was held in the big hall, which had been built recently to hold important meetings. A medium-sized hall had also been built for less important meetings, and a really small one for discussing what they were having for dinner and what the weather was going to be like. The meeting was to discuss plans for the expedition and was attended by Rusin, Longstint, Brongley, Yill, Crofin, Vectorn and Father. Brongley was first to speak. "To begin with," he said, "I would like to make an announcement. Rusin and Longstint have asked my permission, which I have given, to attempt to climb the mighty stump of doom. I realise that this will be a very dangerous, very perilous, and a bit hairy, but I feel they deserve the chance to give it a try." Crofin said, "Ooh, Vectorn said, "Too risky." And Father said, "Is there any tea going?" A list was made up of the equipment that would be needed on the trip, and this is that very list. Warm clothing, cold clothing, plenty of chickweed tea, lots of food, 2 sleeping bags, 2 waking bags, more chickweed tea, a small piece of wood in the shape of a bat's ear, which Crofin had found the day before and thought, although not very useful, might bring them luck. The very next morning, having gathered all the equipment together, Longstint and Rusin met at the 30 tree. A large crowd of well-wishers had gathered to say goodbye to the 2 little green fairy adventurers. Some of the crowd were carrying banners saying things like, "Good luck, chaps, keep safe," and "Wish I was coming with you." One banner said, "Good luck, Brongley and Crofin." Rebeccah, who had saved it from a previous adventure and didn't have the time to make a new one, carried this. As the two started out in the direction of the stump, the crowd cheered and waved their hands in the air. Everyone waved except Yill, who was sad to see them go, looking so small and helpless and about to face so many dangers. So, as she usually did, she recited a little rhyme which went something like this. "Go boldly, little Willigrews, and you will be all right. But remember that by night it's dark, and that by day it's light. You know there may be dangers, but then there may be none. So if you find yourselves confused, just eat a chickweed bun. If you should find you miss us, and I should think you will, keep strong and think of Willigrews, 'cause we'll be waiting still." Before long, Longstint and Rusin disappeared into the distance, and all the other Willigrews went back home. As they walked along side by side, Rusin turned to Longstint and said, "Well, this is it, mate. We are on our way to conquer the mighty stump of doom. Are you excited or frightened?" "Well," replied Longstint, "part of me is frightened and part of me is excited." They didn't discuss which parts. For a while the journey was fairly uneventful, until up ahead they spotted someone sitting on the side of the path. There before them, sitting on a tree stump, was a really weird-looking creature. Most of its body was smooth and leathery, like, well, smooth leathery stuff. Its face was round and red with a few tufts of hair here and there. Its body was quite small, but the strangest thing was that although it was sitting on the stump, its backside was resting on the ground behind it. It was huge, quivering and glistening in the morning sun. Before the Willigrews could say hello, the creature greeted them with a big smile. "Good morning to you. I am Wobble of the Wobblybum tribe. Who do I have the pleasure of meeting?" it said. Good grief, thought Longstint. His name must be Wobble Wobblybum. "I'm called Longstint, and this is my friend Rusin," answered Longstint. "We are from the Willigrew tribe. You may have heard of us." "Indeed I have," replied Wobble. "Our leader, Bobble, has told us many good things about your tribe, and you are highly respected for being peace-loving, brave, and all-round pretty good types in a general way." "Well, thank you," said Rusin. "It is a pleasure to meet you. We are on our way to try to climb to the top of the mighty stump of doom." Wobble's eyes widened, his mouth fell open, and his bum wobbled. "The mighty stump of doom?" he gasped. "Did you say the mighty stump of doom?" Yes," Longstint replied. "Could you point us in the right direction?" "Well, I'll take you part of the way gladly, but I will go no further than the fuzzy boodad trees," continued Wobble. Then he started to speak with a strange accent, sort of West Country, with a hint of Long John Silver. "Folk around these parts say that once you go past the boodad trees, strange things do happen. They tell of evil goings-on and doings, strange sounds and screams and loud burps to be heard." "Well, thanks for the warning," said Rusin, "but we are the tribe that face the nasty glue-puds, so we will carry on regardless of the dangers." Wobble replied, "Well, don't say I didn't warn you." So they didn't. Wobble asked the Willigrews to follow him closely and warned again the dangers that they would face on the stump. He went ahead, walking quite slowly, his wobbly bottom dragging on the ground, although when he speeded up, his bottom sort of bounced along. The Willigrews followed close behind. Okay. I wonder what's going to happen. I don't know. I've not read it yet. So come back tomorrow at 2:00 where we will continue with The Willigrews 2 by Terry Tarbox. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.